Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another Prediction Friday. We're going to be going through the slate of Week 6. I'm here with Moody and Isaiah. How we doing today, fellas?
What's good? What's good? Bye weeks this week. Get those players out your fantasy lineups, or keep them in and still win.
Sometimes some people can pull that off, but I'm doing great, Eric. Looking forward to another exciting week of NFL football.
It looks like a pretty sloppy week. These games look pretty. Couple good games, mostly. Oh yeah, everybody has to play 17 games, unfortunately. All right, so we're gonna start with London this week again. We've got Miami playing a pseudo home game for Jacksonville in London. Jacksonville, who belongs in London. What's this?
They got a nice little fan base in Jack. They're trying to make a life out there in Jacksonville. They got hot tubs in the stadiums and stuff.
Apparently in London they like football in general, so they'll take anything. So that's why they get this.
And of course, the London has to get Jacksonville. All right, let's see. The line is Jacksonville is a 3-point home underdog. Miami is my favorite on the road, technically, and the over/under is 47.
All right. We found out today that Xavier Howard won't be playing, but Tua Tagovailoa will be playing. So how we feel about this game?
For me, if Jacksonville can't get it done this week, they probably won't win a game all year. I truly believe that. This is like Tua's going to come off of bad ribs traveling across the pond. You know how flying affects injuries. Their offense is abysmal. Their defense without Xavier Howard is not a threat whatsoever. It should be. They don't rush the passer that well. Like Jacksonville has never been in a better position to win the game, in my opinion. Trevor Lawrence has to show up. Like I said, if they don't get it done today, they won't get it done at any point. So this will be hopefully the last time I back Jacksonville, but I will take the Jags +3, and I will take the over.
What's the over under?
47.
47. So I don't believe in Jacksonville, but it's hard for me to believe in Miami. This is what we call a fade classic right here. At 9:30, don't pick London games. Don't pick Thursday night football games. They're going to be sloppy and unpredictable. But I'm going to take Miami to cover. I'll take Miami 24-20, which is the under. So I'll take Miami and the under.
Yeah, I'm with both of you on each side. I think this is the 1 week where Jacksonville, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be sloppy, classic London game. But I'm going to take the Jaguars with the plus points. And, yeah, this is like the one game they can compete in. So let's go, Trevor Lawrence. Come on. And I'll take the under also because I don't think either team is going to be breaking away with this thing.
Okay, so both you guys got Jacksonville. Eric has the under. You got the over.
Yep.
I'll take Miami and the under. All right, moving on to a North Midwestern clash between Cincinnati and Detroit. Two cities I wouldn't be dying to go to on any vacation. Cincinnati's headed to Detroit. What's the line and over under looking like?
All right, Cincinnati is -3.5 at Detroit at the kneecap biters, and the over under is also at 47. All right, the cover gods. I think that's the best way to talk about this game. So I feel like whatever I pick, Detroit's going to do the opposite because that's what they've done all year. This is one of those, I want to call it a trap game for Cincinnati. They're probably feeling disappointed but morally well after pushing Green Bay to the limit in a game they should have won, going against a much lesser opponent on the road against Detroit. If a young team, they have to learn how to win games like this. They had a bit of a letdown. Detroit's going to be fighting hard, desperate for their first win. Cincinnati's going to come out with the mindset. It has to come out with the mindset to take care of business. I'm not 100% certain they'll be able to do that, but I trust Detroit even less to make the game, to be able to win a football game. I think Cincinnati just has more talent around them, and I like their defense to be able to hold Detroit from moving the ball really well at all. So I'll take the Cincinnati Bengals -3.5 on the road at Detroit, and I'll take the under.
I also agree with you. I just think Detroit's good enough to fight in keeping games, cover. But this week the line's good enough for you to be like, oh, they're on to Detroit's game here. So I'm going to take Cincinnati to win 28-24. What's the over under?
47.
So that I believe that is the over. So I'll take Cincinnati to cover, and I'll take the over.
Yeah, I'm with Cincinnati as well. I mean, I've been picking my spots well with the Lions covering, and I see the Bengals just coming in being better. Don't the Lions have several injuries? as well.
Their whole offensive line's hurt at this point, and they just lost.
And their quarterback's never won a game.
Yeah, and more importantly, their quarterback's never won a game when he wasn't being coached by Sean McVay, and that's not happening on Sunday.
Yeah.
So we're all going with Cincinnati?
Yeah, and I will go. What is it, 47?
Yeah.
I'll take the over as well.
Okay, so everybody's got Cincinnati. Moody's going to rock with the under. Me and Eric are going to go with over. All right, moving on to the game of the day, probably, in my opinion. We've got a big AFC clash, one seed implications for sure. We've got the Chargers going from the West Coast at 1 o'clock all the way to the East Coast to Baltimore to take on Lamar Jackson's Ravens. 2 MVP candidates going at it.
Yeah, Baltimore's 2.5-point favorites at home, which is really low considering that they're one of the AFC contenders and they're at home, and the Chargers have to go cross country. It'll be a 10 a.m. game on their time. So it's really surprising that the Ravens couldn't even get a field goal here. I think that's a little bit disrespect to the Lamar Jackson 2019 MVP. The over-under is also 51.5, so Vegas is expecting this to be high scoring as well. This is a really, really fun matchup, I think. 2 of the best young quarterbacks in the game, and Herbert and Lamar, they're going to be going back and forth with solid but not great defenses and defenses that have weaknesses on the other team's strength. Chargers struggle to stop the run. Ravens struggle in the secondary. So I think this is a real true strength-on-strength test to see who gets to be the front runner for a top seed in the AFC this year. I'm going to give Baltimore the edge at home. I know they struggled with Indianapolis last week, but Lamar's playing better than his MVP level. The Ravens are getting a little bit healthier. They're getting some of their receivers back. The Chargers having to travel cross country to play a game at 10 a.m. on their time. I expect them to start a little bit slow, and that'll give Baltimore a chance to get out ahead and hang on late. I'll take Baltimore -2.5, and I will take the over. I think both quarterbacks will show up and show out.
This game is hard to pick for me. I believe it is a toss-up game. I think it's going to be a great game. But I just think the Chargers are going to have a good enough defensive game plan to minimize Lamar, mainly minimize Lamar's weapons probably, and minimize Lamar's running and force Baltimore to pass, as we've seen every team has been trying to force Baltimore to do that. And Lamar's been having some success against it. But I think a guy like Derwin James is the perfect chess piece to use to neuter Lamar as much as you can. But I still think we're going to get big scoring all the way around. So I'll take the Chargers 35-28. So I got the Chargers covering, and I'll take the over.
Yeah, this was close to me in my life. Now that I see another game and think about it, it will be mine. But I think the Chargers will win this game. I've even actually sprinkled money line a little bit on them. I think with the injuries in the secondary from the Ravens, Justin Herbert's going to have a field day. I think the over is an easy one as well, because I do think Lamar's going to score. He's obviously going to score points throughout the game, and I think it's going to be enough. So each team will do their part to hit this. What is it, 51?
Yeah,
to hit this 51. So I'll take the Chargers and the over.
All right, we can move on to the next one.
We've got another AFC West, NFC East showdown. We've seen a good amount of these. Some really good games out of these matchups as well. But this time we've got Patrick Mahomes and his Chiefs headed to Landover, Maryland to go face off against the Washington football team, who've had a tough week, who will be using the distraction of a Sean Taylor jersey retirement, RIP to him. At least he's getting the jersey retired. And I believe what we got for this game.
All right, so the Washington football team are 6.5-point dogs at home against Kansas City, and we got an over/under of 54.5, one of the higher ones of the weekend as well, which is crazy to think about considering what we expect out of Washington football team going into the year: elite defense, struggling offense. But it's basically flipped. Their offense has been good enough to win them some games, but their defense has let them down so consistently that it's really, really hard to trust them when the strength of their team is bad. How can you trust them to be able to win football games, especially with a backup quarterback playing? I like Kansas City a lot here on the road at Washington football team. I don't expect Washington to be able to keep up in any way, shape, or form. They'll be able to score because Kansas City's defense is so bad, but they can't slow down Patrick Mahomes at all in that secondary. So I'll take Kansas City. I had it at -7. It's -6.5 here. It doesn't matter. I'll take Kansas City to cover, and I'll take the over.
Originally, I had this down as Washington football team to cover because I just feel like Kansas City's defense was so bad, but we found out today that Scary Terry McLaurin probably won't be playing. So I'll adjust my score, and instead of having Kansas City in a close one, I'll take the cover. I'll take Kansas City 34, Washington football team 28.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same side here. I
So
mean,
that's the over. Yes, the over.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, I have the over as well in it. But I also take Kansas City. I think Terry's a big loss for Washington. And they're also out Curtis Samuel again for a groin. But yeah, I think the Washington football team will score enough on the bad Kansas City defense to hit this over. So Kansas City and the over.
By the way, 34-28 is a Washington football team cover, right? The line's -7.
It's -7.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll rock with it. I thought they were going to cover.
So you got Washington football team to cover?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we could so Isaiah's got Washington football team and you got the over?
Yeah.
And me and Eric have Kansas City in the over?
Yep.
All right, good. What we got next?
The most classic rivalry of them all, even though it's been pretty
It's just the
one-sided.
oldest one.
Green Bay headed to the Bears. Justin Fields' first matchup against Aaron Rodgers, rookie versus the vet. How we feel?
That's you about described it right there. It's the rookie Justin Fields in his first test against Aaron Rodgers. Luckily, he gets it at home instead of having to go to Lambeau. Still gonna be cold regardless. But the Bears, who are I think won 2 in a row, they got
Unfortunately
they've got a surprising 3-2 record. Their defense has really picked it up since Justin Fields was inserted into the lineup. Bears are running the ball a lot more as Bill Lazor is taking over the offensive play calling, playing more to Justin Fields' strength, shortening the game. I think that's been really good to build the Bears' confidence because they were a team that won 10 games last year and were a playoff team. So you expect them to be good again this year, but they after a slow start, they've actually picked it up. Same with the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers looks right back to his MVP form after they got shellacked in Week 1 by the New Orleans Saints. I expect this to be a tight contest. Because I think the Bears will be able to run the ball and slow the game down and keep themselves in it. But at the end of the day, I think the Packers will be too much to overcome for Justin Fields at home. I don't think he'll be able to score enough points. So I'll take the Packers to cover -6 on the road at Chicago, and I will take the over.
What's the over under?
44.
Okay, so I agree with you. I think Chicago will keep it close early, because Green Bay is going through a lot of injuries, but in the end, I think Green Bay will put a couple put away scores on the board late. So I've got Green Bay 28, Chicago 17. So I'll take Green Bay to cover, and I will take the over as well.
Yeah, we're in agreement this game. Green Bay -6 and the over. Green Bay scores touchdowns, and the Bears struggle with it. So I think inside of a touchdown, I think that's a pretty safe bet. Yeah, a lot of injuries, a lot of guys nicked up on the Chicago defense as well. I think Hicks missed last week, right? Is he?
I don't know if
he's been in and out. I don't know if he'll be. I don't think he'll be back. I don't think he'll be back for this game.
Yeah,
I didn't get any reports either, surprisingly. So we all going the same thing here. Probably going to be a pretty bland game, probably to watch.
Yeah, I expect the Packers to just win because they're the better football team.
All right, next we have another West Coast team heading to East Coast for a 1:00 kickoff. We've got Matthew Stafford and his LAR Rams coming off a Thursday night win, so they've got a nice 10-day break in between. Headed to New York MetLife to face off the returning Daniel Jones and his New York Giants. I will first, since I'll be watching this game primarily on Sunday. I believe with the additions of Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, the Giants will keep it close. I can't guarantee that they will win. I don't know how their defense will go and be fair against a healthy Deshaun Jackson. I actually expect Deshaun Jackson to make at least one explosive play easily. But I think the Rams have just a little bit too much. And I also think the Saquon Barkley and Kenny Golladay injuries are just enough to keep the Giants from fully pulling off a victory. But I wouldn't be surprised. But because I've got the Giants covering, I'll take the Rams to win 28-21. I think New York probably taxed on a garbage time touchdown after getting handled all day. It'll probably be a pretty sloppy game because Matthew Stafford's got the finger injury and the Giants play sloppy most of the time. So should be a good game because of people fumbling to scoring against bad defense.
All right, so the line is 7.5, and The over-under is 48.5.
7.5?
Mm-hmm.
When I saw it earlier, I saw it at 10. So I still got to cover it, though. So I still got – damn, I wish I – 7.5. Damn. I still got the cover, though.
And 28-21 gives you the over.
Yeah, and I took the over. I know I was taking the
over. All right. Yeah. Even like in my heart, I don't want to trust the Rams, but if there's one thing I think the Rams can do is handle an inferior football team, which I believe the New York Giants are, especially missing their two most heavily invested weapons in Saquon Barkley and Kenny Galladay. I just really don't know how the Giants are able to muster enough points to stay in it against the LA Rams, but I expect their defense to be able to hold them in it for as long as they possibly can, just because it's hard to score points at the Meadowlands. So, but I'll take the Rams at -7.5 to cover. I just think they're the better football team and they'll be able to win the game by 8-10 points. And I'll take the under. I think the scoring will be suppressed because in the cold weather, there'll be more running the football. Giants defense is their strength at this point. They're gonna have to find a way to get some stops to even hang in it. But I don't think the Rams will allow the Giants to move the ball too well. So I'll take, the Rams to cover and the under.
Yeah, I'm exactly with Moody. I'm with the Rams and the under. The losses on offense are huge for the Giants. But
I mean, they're getting back Shepard and Slayton, so that's the thing.
Yeah,
not the guy you drafted second overall or put a $72 million into.
But the quarterback. But the quarterback
is there.
Yeah, that's the X factor. I got it at 10, so that's why I'm kind of
but also taking the under for the LA guys coming over to a bit cooler weather.
Both LA teams got to go make East Coast trips for 10 a.m. games for them. That's rough. NFC East football, baby.
So give me the Rams and the under.
All right, we can go ahead and move on to the next slate.
All right, so we've got another AFC South matchup. These have been so hard to watch. They're some inferior teams in this division, to say the least. We've got the Houston Texans and their MASH gang because they've got some injuries, headed to Indianapolis, who played the Colts coming off that choke fest on Monday night last week. I'll start first because I'll make this my lock of the week, and the lock will be that I believe Indianapolis will cover. I think they're just outright the better team. I think the injury to Laramie Tunsil makes it a long day for Mr. Davis Mills running from his life from Mr. Kwity Paye probably. I don't know if he's playing. But and others, mainly, DeForest Buckner. So I'll take Indianapolis 31, Houston 17, probably tackling a couple garbage time scores, and probably a pretty ugly game.
I agree that the game will be ugly, but I don't think I trust Indianapolis enough to be able to handle covering a 10-point spread. Houston has shown the ability to, outside of play Buffalo, they've shown the ability to compete with most teams. Now, the Laramie Tunsil injury is huge, and that's going to hurt Houston's ability to move the ball. But Houston's defense is actually showing up in a pretty decent way and allowed them to hang around in some games. So I'll take Houston to cover the 10-point spread. They'll find a way to be in the game. It's a division game. They'll know the Colts. And Davis Mills has shown the ability to be able to make plays against solid defenses like he performed against New England last week. Over-unders at 43.5. I think that's kind of low, especially if there's going to be a 10-point spread. I think they're going to have to clear this to even get to that. So I'll take Houston plus 10, and I'll take the over.
I also took the over.
Yeah, me and Moody are on the same wavelength this week. I got Houston. They looked pretty good last week against New England, staying in it. And 10 points is a lot to give to an Indianapolis Colts team I don't have much confidence in.
Exactly.
Andy, I believe in you. I'm locking it in, get it done. I think this won't be competitive. I think you'll be turning this game off. If you have to watch this locally, I'm sorry. Because if they don't take it off the TV, it's going to be a long 1 o'clock window for you. All right, moving on next to – so both of you guys have Houston and the over.
Yep.
I have the over at Indianapolis, and it is my lock. Hopefully I get that streak going again. Next, we have the final game of the 1 o'clock window, and I think it's probably the second best matchup. But it probably won't be the second best game. Probably a sloppy game, in my opinion. We've got Kirk Cousins taking his crew to Carolina to face the Carolina Panthers in Carolina. I mean, I think these two teams are pretty similar. They just do things differently.
I'm surprised that Carolina's a home underdog.
Yeah, that's what they are.
Yeah, Carolina's plus 2.5 at home. It's plus 2.5 isn't enough for me because I think Minnesota's better. So I'm going to pick Minnesota to cover and win the game because I think Minnesota's just slightly better. Because unfortunately, C-Mac, as much as they are trying to make it sound like he'll be back soon, he will not be playing on Sunday. That continues to be a big loss. And it's a different Sam Darnold when Christian McCaffrey doesn't play. I think that's the biggest thing to notice between these two teams that I think that are pretty similarly evenly matched throughout, but Minnesota's going to get Dalvin Cook back. The Panthers are not getting C-Mac back, and I think that'll make the difference. So I'll take Minnesota to cover the road 2.5-point favorites, and I'll take the under. I think it'll be a defensive struggle between a good defense and a struggling quarterback.
I agree. I think it's going to be a competitive game. I think these two are like those borderline playoff teams that'll be fighting in. Probably a big game for tiebreakers, and I've got Minnesota by 3. Minnesota 24, Carolina 21. In a semi-competitive, probably a competitive game, but don't confuse competitive for bad. It'll probably be a sloppy.
That gives you the under, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not expecting much. Eric?
Yeah, I'm taking the under as well, but I'm also taking the Panthers in this. I don't think there's a huge difference between the two teams, and we have the better offense. And it comes down to what Sam Darnold are we getting that day? Are we getting Jet Sam Darnold, or are we getting 3-0 Sam Darnold? So it's really all predicated on how Sam plays. So I'll take Carolina as home underdogs, and give me the under too. Yeah, they haven't really been hitting overs unless they're playing the Cowboys.
I don't expect a ton of points in this game. Yeah. All right, what we got next? 4 o'clock window.
4 o'clock window. Only 3 4 o'clock games, and a couple of them. One of them looks good. 2 of them look unfortunate. So we're going to start with the best game, in my opinion. That's probably going to come from the 4 o'clock window. We got Arizona, another team. The difference is Arizona usually plays at 4 o'clock. So they're playing at the regular time, but they're going east to Cleveland, matchup with the 2 former Heisman-winning Oklahoma quarterbacks. A lot of Oklahoma representing the league nowadays. So we've got Kyler Murray going to Cleveland to face Baker Mayfield. So I'll go first because I'm going to call it. I'm going to go. This is the week that Arizona finally takes their first loss of the season. A nice road trip is nice to throw a monkey wrench in plans. I think they come out pretty sloppy. I still think we get a good high scoring game. Like Eric said about our last game, it really matters which Baker Mayfield we get. I think he's been playing good enough. He's not playing amazingly, but he's playing good enough to hand the ball off to Kareem Hunt this game, because we found out today that Chubb is hurt, so that makes me a little bit more nervous. But I'm going to take Cleveland to cover, and I'm going to take the over. Cleveland 35, Arizona 30.
It just seems like Cleveland can't catch a break. They get Odell back. Jarvis Landry got activated off of IR, and then you find out Nick Chubb's out with the calf, and that just stings for Cleveland. You want to believe in Cleveland. You really, really do. They got a super talented roster. I think their team is good, but I trust Kyler Murray more. So I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals to go on the road and continue their undefeated season at the dog pound. I had it at 3.5. I see it on FanDuel as +3. Either way, I'll take Arizona to cover the spread. I think Kyler Murray will be too much for the Cleveland defense that has struggled against quarterbacks who can move and make plays outside of structure. I think that'll continue here. And the Arizona defense has been good enough to slow teams down. Without Nick Chubb, there's really only Kareem Hunt's still a big problem to worry about, but there's one less weapon to worry about for them. And I expect their pass rush to be able to get after Baker as well, who's struggling with that torn labrum in his non-throwing shoulder. So I'll take the Arizona to cover the +3 over under 49. I'll take the under. I think this will be more of a defensive struggle.
Yeah, with the injury news of Nick Chubb coming out, Arizona's become my lock of the week. I think that's their number one weapon on their most relied on phase of their offense gone. And I think that's huge for Baker to have a run game with him. So play action is that more effective for him. Kareem Hunt is still a great running back. Go off for my fantasy team, please, bro. But I just think with the weapons that Arizona has, they can move the ball on Cleveland's defense. And I'm still a huge fan of the Browns. I still think they're gonna go on a deep run in the playoffs. But I just think Nick Chubb's injury is just massive for them. So I'll take Arizona plus the points as my lock, and I'll take the under.
All right, so listen, Isaiah's the only one who went with the Browns, and you took the over, right?
Yeah.
So me and Eric went Cardinals under, you went Browns over. What we got next at the 4 o'clock?
We've got Tormo calling his former team. We've got Dallas headed to New England. to play them again after playing them just recently, a couple
It's
years ago.
2019 we played them.
And that was a monsoon then, and I'm sure we'll be getting some rain. And,
I checked the weather report. I saw 5% chance of rain at the 4 o'clock kickoff time. So hopefully Bill can't get his weather machine. There's gonna be rain again.
What's the spread in?
All right, so the Cowboys are 3.5-point road favorites at Gillette Stadium. Just crazy to think about being a road favorite at New England. It's just we're at different times now for real, and we had an over/under at 50. All right, so since this is my team, I'll go ahead and kick it off. This is I wouldn't call it a trap game because I have a lot of respect for New England. It is always hard to go at New England and win a football game. Bill Belichick will be able to coach his ass off. They're coming off of a tough win against Houston, a team that shouldn't have been in the game with them, but a game that they had to overcome nonetheless. But the only teams New England have beaten so far this year have been rookie quarterbacks. Zach Wilson, Davis Mills. We got a better offense than that. As many tricks and things that Bill Belichick can possibly pull out to confuse Dak Prescott, they don't have the horses to slow down Zeke and Pollard in the run game, and I think that'll be the difference to get the Cowboys over the top. But I expect a lower scoring affair just because I think Mac Jones, they struggle to move the ball off. It's New England. It's a very bland, not explosive offense that they have, and Bill's going to have some stuff ready to go to try to keep the Cowboys offense under wraps. So I'll take the Cowboys to cover -3 on the road, and I'll take the under.
I agree. This game might be really close, but I don't see it being within 4 points. I think Dallas is up 21-17 late, and then they tackle them probably another put-away touchdown. So I've got Dallas 28, New England 17, which is also the under. I don't expect much high scoring, and I don't expect high scoring in this game because Bill will have a decent enough defensive game plan to force a couple turnovers to slow down momentum for Dallas's offense. And New England's probably going to lose their third straight home game.
I think it's fourth. Yeah, it's weird times in New England. That's for sure.
That's tough.
Is Diggs? He was on the injury report, correct?
Diggs, Tyron, they're both going to play.
I don't think it matters.
Okay. Yeah. So then I'll take Dallas as well and the under. It's hard to bet overs in New England, or even against New England, but even more so at Gillette. Yeah, I have on Bleacher Report says light rain for the game.
Bill's gonna find a way to make it sloppy because he knows he's not the guy. He don't got the more talented team.
But yeah, I think the offense will be too much for New England because they can do it both ways. And Mac Jones will be a learning curve. He's still a rookie quarterback. So Dallas and the under.
Yeah, consensus. So I'm sure that New England will have something for us to witness on Sunday. And Dallas is known to let down. So next we're moving on to a AFC West matchup. These have been some good ones. These are the Pretender Bowl in the AFC West.
This is exactly what this is, the Pretender Bowl.
We have a coach making his debut for the Raiders. I can't think of his name right now. What's his name again?
Rich Bisaccia, former special teams coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Headed to Denver, and I'm just going to start it and say there's not much. I think it's going to be a good game, but I really don't. I think this will be just like that Vegas game they played against the Chargers. Denver will come out to an early lead because their team is just together right now and they don't have a new coach all of a sudden randomly. And then I think Las Vegas offense is a little sloppy, and then they tack on a couple scores to make it look better. So I'll take Denver to cover. And what's the over under?
43.5.
43.5. So I'll take the over as well. I got Denver 28, Vegas 21.
I disagree. I think one thing we've seen about when coaches get fired, the very next game, there's always that little bit of coach's bump. As the players know, like, oh, man, the coach has been fired. You got to start picking it up. And, frankly, I don't think Denver's any good. So I'm going to take the Vegas to cover plus 4.5 on the road at Denver. I think this will be a pretty ugly football game between two teams that are surprisingly decent. I mean, we knew the Broncos would go to defense, but the Raiders have surprisingly been really good on defense, especially in the secondary defending receivers. Max Crosby has been the best pass rusher in the league so far this year. I think that'll do a good enough job slowing down the Bridgewater offense, and I think they'll be able to hang in it close in the end. And I'll take 43.5 is low. I have the under written down, but I think I'll take the over instead. I think these teams will be able to find enough points to hit that over, but not by much. I'll take the Raiders plus 4, and I'll take the over.
Switch that.
Yeah.
I think the Raiders could win this game, honestly. I agree with you with the coach's bump. With it's a wake up call to the players, going like we could be next, or even all right, that guy's out the building. Like let's go for whatever the interim coach's name is. But yeah, I think they need to go back. When they were winning games, they were targeting Darren Waller 15 times, and his targets have just gone down and down, and they've been losing. So I think they'll try to get back to Darren Waller. I mean, who would the Broncos have on him? Simmons. Safety?
Simmons.
A
They
double
got
team for sure. They'll have
Yeah.
a double team of Simmons and a underneath linebacker.
So we'll see it, but I like the Raiders a lot in this.
All right. So you guys are both going with the Raiders and the over.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'll go with Denver and the over. All right. Next is the Sunday night football game that no one asked for. We have washed up Geno Smith making an appearance, his first start since the infamous Eli Manning benching game, headed to face really washed up Ben Roethlisberger, who actually turned the clock back last week and made some plays. So
We got Pittsburgh -5.5 at home, and I think our lowest over under of the week at 42.5. For me, I'll just go ahead because this is my lock of the week. This is home Big Ben that we're talking about here, going up against a backup quarterback that they're going to have all the opportunity in the world to feast on. I don't care that he's had 10 days. I don't care that I don't care that DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett have the chance to just pick apart that Pittsburgh secondary that isn't very good. I don't expect Geno to be able to take advantage of it. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh at home -5.5. And I will take, what did I have written down here? And I will take the under. I think Pittsburgh's, even being the better team, Pittsburgh ain't scoring that many points. So
what's the over-under?
42.5. And Pittsburgh -5 and the under.
I clearly looked at a different spread this morning. I think I was looking at FanDuel, so I got a little bit higher, but I will take Pittsburgh to win this game 21-17. So that's technically a Seattle cover. I think this game is going to be hard to watch, sloppy, and it's supposed to rain. So under for sure, and I'll take Seattle to cover just because.
All right. Well, I'm taking the under as well, and I trust Big Ben somehow more than Geno Smith. So I will be taking the Steelers. What was it, -5.5?
Yeah, that's how I got it at right here.
5.5. So give me the Steelers. Backup quarterback and Big Ben. That screams under. So yeah, give me the under and the Steelers.
All right, so for this one, both of you guys got the Steelers covering and the under. I have the under and Seattle's covering. So this game's going to be sloppy is what we all are saying, basically. And lastly, we have Buffalo taking their number one scoring offense, number one scoring defense, back to Tennessee for a rematch of last year's Tuesday Night Football Classic.
In which Tennessee smacked around Buffalo. Just
Josh Gordon
took them behind the woodshed.
Josh Gordon infamously got stiff-armed out of this existence. We've got Buffalo headed to Tennessee. Tennessee, we're still waiting on word for Julio and A.J. Brown because you don't get word from them until Sunday morning. I think Brown will be good because he played last week. Julio, who knows? But I don't think it really matters. I'll just go ahead and say I think Buffalo is a buzz saw right now. And I think this is just another good AFC team for them to run through and make the resume look really good. I think they'll have a nice resume just off the regular season. It might not hold up in the playoffs, but things are breaking right for them this year. So I'll take Buffalo to win, going away 35-21, which is also the over. If both those receivers play, maybe Tennessee makes it a little bit closer, but I'm pretty sure Buffalo will cover. What's the over-under?
53.5, and Buffalo's -5.5 on the road.
So easy Buffalo cover. And the over. I'll actually switch. I'll make this my lock of the week, actually. I'll go on Buffalo. Actually, no, I've already used Buffalo before. So, yeah, I'll stick with Indianapolis.
All right. I'm going to go off the assumption that everybody plays. Julio plays. A.J. Brown plays. Luan, all those guys. I'm going to take Tennessee +5.5 at home to stay in it all the way through against Buffalo. We know Buffalo's just both recent teams right now, but after that big Kansas City's win, they could be due for a bit of a letdown against a lesser talented team. Derrick Henry is still Derrick Henry. They didn't have any answers for him last year. Let's see how they solve that problem this year, especially with the two no pun intended, titans that they have a receiver in A.J. Brown and Julio being out there. It's going to be hard to load up on Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill has been picking it up in the last couple of weeks without his weapons. I think he'll put on a better showing with his weapons to give Tennessee a chance to hang in it late. So I'll take Tennessee +5.5, and I'm expecting a pretty high scoring affair. I'll take the over.
I'm going to go Buffalo minus the points. but I'm going to go under. I think the Titans they're going to run the ball, which will slow it down, which will make you need more perfect play for touchdowns. So I'm
Mhm.
going to give it the under of the Bills Titans.
All right.
All right. Lastly, bold predictions for the week. What we got? There's a lot of randomness going on now.
That's how a randomness going on here.
I'll just go with one of my picks since it's that simple. I think the Rams Giants game is going to be an underrated game. I think it'll be a close game. I'm for sure hijinks will ensue when Deshaun Jackson's involved, and that's my other one. So I'll go Deshaun Jackson scores that explosive touchdown for sure because he loves playing the New York Giants.
Okay, I'll take Trevor Lawrence to get his big breakout game in front of the London fans. He'll go for over 400.
His future fans?
And maybe his future home fans. The Dolphins secondary struggled last week against the Bucks and Brady, but good receivers. But without Xavier and Howard, I think that Jackson get a chance to expose them. So I'll say Trevor will go for over 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. My bold prediction.
My bold prediction will be the Arizona Cardinals will win outright and comfortably against the Browns. I think that offense will be lost without Nick Chubb. And Kyler's offense is humming right now. I mean, I think this will solidify them as like a playoff caliber, like could go on a run type team.
All right. Enjoy the football. Catch you later, Eric.
See ya.